Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome to Plank of the Week. It's Friday night and it's talkTV. My name is Mike Graham and we're going to steward you through some of the most ridiculous things that have happened during the course of this week. I have already assembled a fabulous panel. It's only the second show of the year and already there's so much plankery we might need to do about 3 hours. Jeremy Kyle has returned. Hello. Alex Phillips is back. Stephen Allen is here as well. Samara Gill too. Once again, the winner from last week, Sir Keir Starmer. You're kicking us off with him.
Well, I wasn't here last week, so I didn't know that he'd won.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But
he's going to win every week.
I suspect he is going to win every week with the plank of the decade.
Yes.
I can't work this man out because almost on a daily basis, everything he touches
foundation
just goes completely and utterly wrong. I can publicly announce one thing. On Monday, of course, President Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States, the inauguration in Washington, D.C. How humiliated would you be? And I don't mean this disrespectfully to the lady next to me. Please pan in, right? Keir Starmer has not been invited by Donald Trump to his inauguration. That is the Prime Minister of this country. Yes. This is how little the world think of him. But Alex Phillips is indeed going to the inauguration of Donald Trump.
Let's have a round of applause for Alex Phillips.
So his week, that sort of started not so well. He had to deal with Tulip Siddiq.
Yes.
Farcical. The corruption minister has to resign because she's under criminal investigation. For corruption.
For corruption.
In Bangladesh.
In Bangladesh,
So she withered. You see what I did there? I'm trying to keep
I see.
Tulip, she's been...
We're going to talk about her later.
She's been supplanted.
She's been supplanted.
She's
been dug up.
Yeah, thank you. He was also asked this week, can you confirm your confidence and belief in Rachel Reeves?
Oh, yeah.
And he went, no, he changed the subject. Downing Street then said she'll be the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
She'll be the Chancellor.
She's going to get a mention later as well.
Prime Minister.
Probably. And then to top it all, if that is at all possible, this dork, as I call him, this human rights desire that he has to improve people's lives to the detriment of anybody who actually deserves it. It's now come out that one of the things that they're going to bring in is compensation for people who've been arrested. Not forget the victims a minute. Jerry Adams, who says wink wink that he wasn't part of the IRA, could get hundreds of thousands of pounds. And on your show, am I allowed to say this? Because this absolutely nails it. Mike took a call earlier in the week from a guy who was raging because his neighbour was an ex-Marine, right? With PTSD because he was there when the IRA blew up the band. 18 of his mates died in front of him. He's an alcoholic. His PTSD gets jack whatever the word we're not allowed to say. Can't work. That's the sort of person we should be supporting. And guess what?
And you know what? He's probably had his winter fuel allowance taken off him as well. But don't worry, Jerry Adams was locked up for a while in the Troubles during the 70s, right? And they now, because they say that the most important thing in life is not looking after the victims, not looking after British people, but looking after human rights. And everybody must have the same. Starmer actually went to the trouble of because he was asked the question in the House of Commons. He said, we're going to try very hard to make sure that those kinds of compensation cases aren't successful. But he doesn't say, it doesn't mean that they don't have a case, they don't have a claim. So Jerry Adams could, by this time next year, be rolling around in money that taxpayers from Britain have supplied to it.
I just, on a serious, cool way of saying this, I have no understanding how this man who cannot read a room, he can't read anything.
He can't read an auto cue, never mind a room.
No, let's release the sausages. I think he is just appalling. He just doesn't seem to get it, does he?
Good news for you. I've got a clip for you from why he wants to be a leader in AI. Have a look at this.
Britain will be one of the great AI superpowers. And AI is the way. It's to secure growth, to raise living standards, put money in people's pockets, create exciting new companies and transform our public services.
He doesn't know what he's talking about, right? He's got no idea. That whole speech that he made about AI promises 47 billion pounds a year to the economy. Doesn't explain why, doesn't explain how.
Doesn't inspire, does he, in any way?
He also, did you see the mangling of the sentence that he did this week with that? He was talking about some Nobel Peace Prize winner, and he called it the Mobile Peace Prize. Mobile.
Sponsored by EE,
sponsored by EE. You have to, some people were texting me going, do we have to have our phone on silent to win the Mobile Peace Prize? I don't know. But the man is just ridiculous.
That clip was great, though, with the fact you've got the robot in the background looking more human.
I was hoping that was going to be the new Chancellor behind him, but the replacement,
He is essentially the most uninspiring, boring.
He really is.
Just doesn't. He strikes me as about as switched on as Harry and Meghan.
Yeah.
He just completely doesn't read any room at all, and it
Incredible.
is so boring.
It really is incredible, isn't it? But the other thing that was funny this week was that my assertion that him not going to Washington for the inauguration was a great stain on the British economy, sent the left into a complete meltdown. They thought it was another kind of concrete moment for me.
Yes.
They said Mike Graham is an idiot. No Prime Minister has ever been to an inauguration. Well, I didn't say that. I said that he's not going because the leaders of Argentina, the leader of Brazil is going, the leader of Italy, the leader of Japan, several world leaders have been invited, albeit for the first time. But the fact is Keir Starmer and the special relationship has been ignored, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
David Lammy's not going, but Alex Phillips is.
Yeah.
Well,
How's your
that's
special
nice,
relationship over there? Who do you know? What's going on?
Special.
Yeah.
Special.
You know what's really interesting is that it's hilarious how Keir Starmer thinks that Trump's just going to forget about all the dignitaries that he sent over to help the Democrats win the election.
Right.
I mean, Trump.
Willie hell, that'd be a
Trump.
tariff, let me tell you.
Loyalty is Trump's number one game,
Yeah.
and it's just hilarious how Starmer
So,
doesn't understand.
What I've heard is they're all sitting there basically sort of, not necessarily Trump himself, but the envoys going, like, how do we get rid of Keir Starmer? They're looking at Britain going, we actually need to save Britain.
And
They
also
think
Nigel
they're
Farage, of course, is going to
obsessed
be
with how
there
bad we are.
as the senior sort of,
Yeah.
with respect to you, as the senior political representative of Great Britain. Nigel Farage, leader of Reform, will be there.
Representative. I'm just,
Are you turning up in a
popular.
cake?
Just making it
Are
look
you trying to
pretty.
make out you're going to be the
It's
next
popular.
Stormy Daniels or something?
Well,
Steady.
no.
Now, listen, we've got another clip here. Now,
Oh.
this is for those of you who are wondering about Labour's popularity.
Oh.
Here's a Labour canvasser who went round to knock on a few doors this week.
I've seen this.
Hello there, my name's John. I'm calling from your local Labour Party.
Labour can f*** off. Labour are the this country right up. F*** off, go on. You Labour, all they've done to this country, all they've for is that's all
Presumably,
they want in this country. This country's you go on, f*** off.
of course, if
That's worse than a Jehovah's
Isn't it?
Witness, which
Isn't it?
is quite
And,
frightening.
so if they were clever, the Labour Party, they would put it out themselves and had the guy going at the end. So we'll put you down as a maybe.
Yeah.
Then. Anyway, over to you, Alex. We've got a Jamaican rapist for you. It's supposed to be a funny show, this, by the way.
I know. It's like,
That's
how am I
brought it
supposed
down.
to?
Yeah, really.
I already sort of like tried my pun already, and you were
Yeah.
like, I'm not sure about
Well,
it.
yes, I think that's probably a bit near the bone, as it were. Go on, carry on.
No. We'll see. But basically, a Jamaican rapist, 41 years old. We can't name him for legal reasons. Poor little rapist.
Oh, dear.
He was sentenced to a 6-7-year prison sentence for a rape on a woman who was asleep.
Right.
And he was let out after 3 years, of course he was.
Yeah, right.
To be deported.
Yes.
But he can't be deported.
Why not?
Because if he goes back to Jamaica, he'll be persecuted.
Really? Why?
What for? Because he's bisexual.
Is he really, though?
No, he's never had any known relationships with men.
Right.
But that's what he said. And so they're like, stay and also be free.
Yeah. I love the fact that they believe criminals when they go, so, you're being deported now. We just have to read you why that's happening and when it's going to happen. And he goes, well, I can't be deported because... And here's a list of reasons his lawyer's given him to get away with it.
Yeah.
And one of them is, I'm bisexual.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that happened to him while in prison. It's possible.
Yeah.
Can I do my... I know it's a really
No.
dark joke, but it is...
Can I say something? No. You know that...
It's a bit like that old
no.
joke of,
I didn't say that.
my family, my
Shut up.
wife's going
No.
to the Caribbean.
Listen,
No.
Gun to your head going to the inauguration.
No.
Right on with Trump and then come
No.
back.
You'll have to cut it out.
Can I just say, though, I find it astonishing that when Keir Starmer, going back to him, stood for election, he said, we're going to get the criminal gangs.
Yeah.
I think we should have a conversation
What
in this
we're gonna
country...
do when we get
No.
them.
I think we should have a conversation in this country about human rights lawyers who are screwing the British taxpayer, making excuses legally for people who shouldn't be here, who are committing crimes. And I think we should take action against human rights lawyers who are a stain on this country for what
absolutely
they're doing.
right.
Don't
That's the
you?
point. We
Yes.
actually do have a deportation
Dreadful.
treaty, for example, with Pakistan.
Yeah.
So all of these men who have been part of grooming gangs could be
you
deported
call them
to
what they are?
Pakistan.
Rape gangs?
Rape gangs, but we just don't use it. Why? Because a load of wig-wearing
judiciary types.
Judiciary types.
In tights.
Thank you.
Stockings, usually.
They're making a load of money going, oh, well, we can't do that. That just wouldn't be fair. We've actually got to get rid of human rights legislation.
Yeah.
The problem is people hearing that thinks we're going to start, I don't know, set up Chop Square outside the National Gallery.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind. And, start sending kids up chimneys and stuff like that. No, it's not.
Bit further up.
But you say about human rights. What about the guy that phones your show about his neighbour?
Yeah,
what
right.
about the human rights of an ex-Marine?
Or the woman who was asleep.
You're the
What
one
about
who
her?
see,
Why the
Samara.
heck do we care about the human rights of a rapist? He's
Yeah.
a rapist.
Exactly
I don't
right.
care if he goes
Right.
back and gets persecuted. That's his prerogative. He's gone and committed a massive crime.
Right.
He should go back to his
Also,
country
how
and
would they
face
know?
the consequences.
If he goes to Jamaica and he's like bisexual all of a sudden, what's he going to do? Walk around in Jamaica with a t-shirt going, I'm bisexual.
Yeah, I also don't think it's one of
Me.
those countries where they really care that much. There are other countries that I could think of that are higher on the list.
But
where
what does
it's
it say
like,
about
okay,
our
but-
society that you can now get I repeat it, you can now get a human rights lawyer funded by us, the British taxpayer,
Repay
that will
this.
give
Yeah.
you a
Legal
bunch
aid.
of excuses to make sure that you stay in a
Well, the
country that you
stupid
should
thing
be
is,
deported from.
we pay both
Crazy.
sides, don't we?
Yeah.
Because we pay for the Home Office to say this person should be deported, and we pay for the legal aid of the lawyer
Yeah.
saying no, they shouldn't. So we're
Right.
paying both sides.
And
of
now,
the
presumably, we're
argument.
paying for the
Right.
rapist to live here.
Oh, yeah, 'cause
under
he's
an
not in
assumed
jail
name.
now.
Yeah, but how is he living? He's presumably not working. He's probably on benefits. He's presumably, taking more money out of the public purse. It's a ludicrous situation. Absolutely mad. I think maybe we should stop persecuting rapists and prosecuting them and keep them in prison for a bit
We
longer.
need to do something
Amen.
big
The
about the judiciary.
The
though,
idea
we really
that
do.
I love the idea that what they're saying is like, yeah, he'll rape, but he'll never lie.
Yeah.
Come on, put it
Exactly.
together.
Yeah,
Of course, he's
so
going to lie
Yeah,
about anything.
always tells the truth.
Yeah,
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Steve Allen, and Allen even,
Well, thank you.
you've got the Highland Council. Not often on this show, the Highland Council.
We can't say what the N is; it'll be cut out like your joke.
Oh, it's not Stephen, it's Stephen. It's Steve
and
N.
Allen.
Allen, yeah.
Makes me Googleable.
Yeah, it's so that he doesn't get confused with the other Steve Allen.
Who's that?
Well, he's not. It doesn't matter anymore.
Well, why don't you just be Steve? Why don't you just be
He used to
can
be.
now.
He used to be
Stephen
somebody.
The LBC one's retired and the American one's dead, so it's
Yeah.
fine again.
Sorry,
now.
He
There
used
was
to
a
work for a
bloke on
radio.
what?
There was a bloke on a radio station once called Steve Allen, but he's not anymore. Anyway.
Well, why is he relevant then?
Well, he's not anymore, but he's got
Speak
the
for
N
what
now.
you want.
Well,
He's got the N
equity. I
now.
had to put the N in, didn't I? Anyway, Highland Council. This is what we're here to
N.
talk
Allen.
about. Highland N Council.
It's the N, yeah?
They're closing a school. You
Yeah.
know, what's the big whoop about that? Well, the reason that it's a big whoop because they've just spent £1.8 million refurbing it. Less than a year later, they're going to close it.
Right.
So it's not money well spent. You can put it
It's
down as
really
that.
not.
The reason they're closing it is there's only one pupil, which must be hell for that pupil. You're not going to get away with anything. Are you? Like the teacher can't say who
Is
threw
that
that.
actually the
Yeah.
kid?
Yeah.
Have you done your homework? Or you could just go. You call.
Is he a military college or is it really cold? What is that?
I mean, there's
Here he is. Here he is. Here he is
The
at a school.
fighter.
Here he is at a school trip to Ukraine.
no point trying to wear camouflage and blend in.
He's
You're the
got
only
less
kid.
friends than Kevin O'Sullivan.
He has.
hasn't he?
Incredible. And presumably, if he has a day off sick, then nobody has to come to work.
Exactly.
Great.
I might as well go around to his house. It'd be so much.
I think he gets seconds at lunch.
Does he get
His own
free school
pocket money.
dinners?
Yeah, well, they are.
he?
They are
He
school-
bullies himself.
He has to. He has to.
Can't
There's
he?
no one
Must
else.
be
How about a
top
game of
and
conkers?
bottom.
Sorry.
Top and bottom set for everything.
I bet he comes first.
You're the
in all
bottom of the class.
Yeah, bottom
Well
of the class,
done, you're the top of the class.
You've won that running race and
Day.
you've
Yeah.
come last.
Cleans up at sports day, isn't it? apart from the three-legged race, which is going to be very difficult for him to do.
The only thing he can play is chess, presumably. He can walk around the other side of the board
Yes.
and play himself, but he can't play anything else.
And apparently this outrage from the parents, I think we can guess which parents. Because
Sorry, parent?
Parent. Well, but the dad will be upset.
Parents' evening.
Yeah.
Doesn't take long.
And then they come up with a really good point, though. They
What about
shouldn't
the
have done-
school play?
They shouldn't have done. It's a one-man show.
It's stand-up. It's terrible.
But it's not 1.7 million on a refurb and extension. That's the bit that
The
bothers me.
extension?
An
What's that
extension.
for?
You've already only got
All the other kids. All the other kids.
more
By the way,
places to look for him.
Nobody's asked the person the question. Which school does he go to now, then?
Well, his nearest school is 24 miles away. So it's a
Right.
round trip to try and do that, which, I mean, it's a long walk.
It's
He's
a
not
long
going to
walk,
learn a
no.
lot, is he?
No.
But the parents make a good point. They should have seen this coming. Why spend the money on the refurb when you must have noticed no other younglings nearby? Means
Yeah.
give it a few years. And were they hoping that like an entire cohort would be held back because they were that stupid?
Yeah.
That's the only way to keep this place going as a school. But yeah, and also
How many
the other-
teachers have they got in this school?
You only need one, don't you?
No, I know, but what if he takes a day
So
off?
is she the teacher and the headmistress
Right,
and the dinner
yeah.
lady and the
It's
sports
but-
mistress?
School
like
nurse.
Tommy Cooper changing hats. He has to do all the different ones. But my favourite thing is it's run by the granddaughter of the Lego founder.
Is it?
Yeah. So what?
They're going to make some Lego. They're going to make some Lego
She
children.
should have known how to put it together a bit better, shouldn't she?
Also, couldn't they just have made a load of Lego children to sit in the class with
No,
him?
no, don't you worry. There's plenty of young aspiring students coming over on boats who are all definitely under the age of 16.
Oh, yeah, they could all go there,
They
couldn't
can all
they?
go.
Yeah.
Utterly cynical.
No problem at all. I've got some video here of a school in Massachusetts, which similarly only has one student. Let's have a look.
This is hardly Alcatraz, but for a kid on Cutty Hunk Island in Massachusetts, going to school here can sometimes feel like solitary. 13-year-old Gwen Lynch is the only student in a one-room schoolhouse. It's just her and her teacher, Miss Carvalho.
One nation.
You won't find a smaller school anywhere in these United States.
Justice for all.
Turns out it's a dry island. No booze at all.
So there's no kids there then.
No wonder, because nobody has any sex, because none of them get drunk ever. Anyway.
I've got 6 kids.
Problem solved.
I spent my life pissed, to be honest.
Not another glass of wine, no.
Can I have some more wine?
Samara, over to you. Let's talk about Los Angeles.
Oh, gosh. Look, I mean, if you think you've had a bad week, any of these planks on the panel, I think Los Angeles in general has just been having a terrible time, terrible start to the year. And Mayor Karen Bass really takes the cake.
Yeah.
I mean, the sun is really setting on the DEI hire debacle and the reality of what happens when you don't hire someone based on their merit, but you hire them because, they're a black woman and maybe it's good. And I'm not saying that's the only reason that she's incapable of doing this job, but I think the fires have shown that she has absolutely no idea how to run a state.
Right.
She was in Ghana, of all places, while the fires were burning. I have no idea why the hell she was there to begin with.
Nobody knows.
But she rushed back, and I do want to show a video of her on arrival looking really concerned about the people of Los Angeles.
Yeah, so this is her at the airport.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today?
Can you back up, boss? Appreciate it.
Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today?
Yeah, really strong leadership coming from that woman there.
Just didn't answer the questions at all.
That video alone says to me that she should get fired immediately because she pulled $18 million of funding just in the last couple of months away from the town. And I think it was an amalgamation of over $46 million that she got rid of for the fire department. So she absolutely has no idea because these fires happen every year. She should have known they were coming.
Yeah.
Gavin Newsom, anyone who wants to accuse us of being racist for just zoning in on the one black woman in charge of things, Gavin Newsom, a white man, he has no idea what he's doing.
No.
He's going around on podcasts and sort of going out to dinner instead of actually caring about the people. So I think it's really interesting. A lot of people who were in the creative industries and probably more Democrat focused are now starting to say, look, this isn't working. And I think California might be the next swing state.
And one of the things that happened as well was that people took a look at the fire hydrants, which didn't have any water in them. Therefore, they couldn't put any fires out. But they were painted in rainbow colours, just to make sure that everybody was aware of the LGBTQI plus whatever fire business.
You know, one of the main reasons why they didn't have any water to put out the fires is because there's this delta where they used to take all the water from because of snow melting and mountains. And they're not allowed to take the water from there anymore because there's some special, like, stickleback or something.
Because of
and so you're like, oh, well, let's just not take water from there. And it puts me in mind of those horrific floods in Valencia that killed over 100 people, where they ripped out all the dams because of a stickleback.
Right.
I mean, what
What
the
is
heck?
a stickleback?
And no,
Just a little, minnow, a little fish or
fish,
something.
Totally correct, Alex. And it's because
catch
they
them
want
in
the
the river when
Native
you were a kid, no?
Americans to be able to fish there. So there were 3 dams that were compromised because of this. So
Sorry,
you're completely
people
right.
have died and houses have been destroyed and people have died in Valencia because of some stupid little fish.
Yes,
Well,
it
yeah,
really is
everywhere,
like
all
that.
over the world, the fish are taking over.
Yeah.
At least the fish are the people behind
And
DEI.
think about the feelings of the stickleback.
But this is the problem, isn't it? There's no reservoirs
business.
either. They're not allowed to have reservoirs. And nobody can explain this to me. We're in the same place in this country. Apparently, reservoirs are bad for the planet and bad for the climate. I don't know why.
Why?
And nobody can tell me. But
Do
we're
they
not
like
allowed
just
to have them.
reflect the sun like a big mirror? Wouldn't
I
that
don't
be
know.
useful?
I really don't know.
There's Christine Crowley, who is the chief of the LAFD. It's interesting. It has been pointed out on Twitter that there are 3 lesbians called Kristen running the entire fire department, which is an interesting fact. She's actually come out and slammed Mayor Bass, so I'm kind of a fan of Kristen's. I think she's right. But So a lot of the $18 million, actually, I did a bit of digging, and it went into providing services for the homeless and Skid Row.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, it's quite interesting that that's where the money went.
Yeah.
And it's just showing what sorry, for lack of a better term, dumpster fire LA has become.
It really
as a
has.
state.
Absolutely. And if you go there,
now,
and if you go there, all you see is homeless people.
Yeah.
You know, it's got ridiculous wealth in Bel Air and Beverly Hills and all of that. But as soon as you go into West Hollywood, which is still pretty nice, it's just full of people living in tents. But we've got Assistant Chief Kristen Larson. I don't know if this is one of the Kristens that you're talking about.
Yep.
She's talking about this as well.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
It's your own fault if you get caught in a fire if you're a white man.
Yeah.
Diet.
My
quick.
biggest, that's what I was going to say. My biggest worry about her is she can't go up a ladder. She's like...
Well, it's your fault for being on floors 1 and above. That's
very interesting.
You'd worry she'd fall off the ladder and land on somebody.
Did you say she was a lesbian?
What do you think, Jeremy?
Well, she said
I don't know. I'm still stuck on you saying she slammed the man. I'm trying to work out what that means.
Well,
Looks like she could.
It's interesting. They actually,
dunk.
well, it's all DEI, the whole LAFD,
Yeah.
because they actually ran a program in 2022 that was all about getting white men, quote, out of the fire department because there's too many. Where are the white men now? I think they'll be pining for them tomorrow and the day after.
Well, they're now hiring. I think they're now hiring private firefighters and paying them like $2,000 a day.
The wealthy people, yeah.
Because they haven't got enough firemen.
Yeah,
you know?
which is creating a whole issue
Are you allowed
of
to
its
say
own.
fireman?
Well, I am. I say it all the
person.
time. Fireman's lift is a manoeuvre, I believe, which is well known to rescue people, usually
to rescue
damsels
people.
in distress.
Have you ever had a fireman's lift?
Yeah.
She's going to get one next week as well. Coming up, we're going to have some more from the government.
I just checked my schedule.
And now
for
let's
next week, but it
just
wasn't
do
on
what
there.
Steve and Alan would
They're
be
all
saying.
jealous,
There'll be a
Alex.
helmet,
They're
there'll
all
be
jealous.
a chopper, it's all going on.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely
okay.
right. And a big hose. Bonnie Blue. We're going to talk OnlyFans, Just Stop Oil, and I'm afraid Rachel Reeves, Richard III. It's all coming up on Plank. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. Of course, we are here for the duration of the hour, and we can be seen on YouTube every single week. You can go back if you haven't seen it, by the way, Plank of the Year, which was won, guess who, by Keir Starmer. I'm going to talk now about my first nomination, and it is, of course, the one and only Rachel Reeves, otherwise known as Richard III. Doesn't look any different to me every time I see that picture. I still just see Rachel Reeves.
He looks more feminine.
Now, she's been fighting on all fronts. She's gone very quiet since before Christmas because it was revealed just before Christmas that actually, contrary to what she thought, the budget that she released was a complete and utter crock of nonsense. And everybody hates it. She's upset the farmers. She's upset the pensioners. She's upset parents. She's upset people in the NHS. She's even upset poor old Mick Lynch, who's got so upset that he's retiring from his position.
Is he?
Yeah, he's giving up. But the thing is, every single business now says, we can't hire anybody, we haven't got any more money. They're all paying millions more pounds in national insurance. The budget has spiralled out of control. The economy has spiralled out of control. We've now got the highest debt ratio that we've ever had. We're paying more in interest on the money we're now borrowing. The gilt rates, which a lot of people don't really understand, means that we are now in more debt than we have ever been, and we're paying more taxpayers' money every single day just to keep afloat. It's a complete and utter disaster. So what does she do? She decides to go to China, right? In the midst of all of this, while the markets are in turmoil, the Treasury is having to support the pound. The pound has fallen to a low that's not been seen since 14 months ago. And she's actually made the economy worse than Liz Truss, which is saying something, right? And she's done it over a shorter period of time as well. Here she is responding to questions about lying on her CV. This goes back to before she became the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
What do you say about the fact there was a change made to the profile and it now says retail banking, it once said economist? Just explain that.
Well, I'm an economist. I studied economics. I got a master's in economics from the London School of Economics.
But it was changed, wasn't it, the profile?
Well, I worked as an economist. That is my profession. I am an economist.
So,
Take a drink
just to be
every
clear,
time.
she is an economist.
She's economical with the truth.
But she is economical with the truth, very good. But she wasn't an economist at HBOS, where she says she worked in financial services. She worked in the complaints department, which is quite fitting now since a lot of people are complaining about what she's doing.
She looked to me this week, on a genuinely serious note, I think she looks completely out of her depth and almost
She looks worn out, doesn't she?
She had massive bags under her eyes.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, you're not at the races, mate.
No.
The numbers don't lie. She is out of her depth.
Yeah.
She has ruined the
Right.
economy. The lies have come to surface.
Kemi Badenoch actually said, I mean, talking about DEI hires, you know, because Keir Starmer made a big thing about the fact that she was going to be that ridiculous smile, the first female chancellor, and young children and girls and women will be looking up to her and going, oh my God. You know, he's the only person who thinks that women and men somehow are not the same. He thinks it's amazing, some amazing triumph that they've managed to find a woman that can add up. And it turns out, as Kemi Badenoch said, it's a shame that they were so focused on finding a female chancellor rather than somebody who knew what she was doing. Because she
That's
clearly
the problem
doesn't.
with those sorts of hires.
And she went all the way to China and she came back with a £600 million investment deal.
Which is
literally not worth the paper it's written on.
Over
120 million over 5 years per year, right? Which wouldn't buy you a Premier League footballer, and which is, by the way, 60 times less than China gave to Indonesia. So that tells you how good her negotiating skills are. But she's just a busted flush. And of course, worse than that, and we're going to come to Tulip Siddiq later on, she has the full backing of Keir Starmer.
Not really, though, because he didn't answer the question.
No, but the second time around he did. And he's now given his full backing to her. But he also gave his full backing to Tulip Siddiq 24 hours before she left the government. So I think
and
Rachel
he also
Reeves,
employed Louise Hay, good content insurance company. Out
so far Keir Starmer, who, let's not forget, Rosie Duffield says has got a problem with women, has so far lost 3 of his key women in the government: Sue Gray, Lou Haig, and now what's the name?
And what does it say about the fact that he spent 5 years apparently getting organised to win, and they employed these people who did nobody work out that these problems were around?
They knew that Tulip Siddiq had funny connections in Bangladesh. They knew. I mean, she shouldn't even be an MP.
No,
I'm sorry.
Well, we're coming back to her.
We're
back to her in a minute. Stick with Rachel Reeves, who shouldn't be the Chancellor. And I don't think she will be the Chancellor. I don't think she'll even make the first anniversary of the Labour government.
Do you not?
No.
Keir probably checked her LinkedIn page and was like, oh, it says economist.
She's an economist.
Yeah, let's give her the job. It's a bit like those people who they say that they're actors, but they're waiters.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You pretend that, I'm qualified as an economist, even though I was working in retail.
People who say they're broadcasters and they're just busted flushes of journalists.
Yes.
I take that personally.
There is that.
Kev.
There is that, yeah. No names, no pack drill, as they say. Jeremy, over to you for our favourite protesters, I suppose you might say, the Just Stop Oil Brigade.
I'm so beyond these people. I've told us, there you are, look, let's deface Charles Darwin's gravestone.
Yeah.
And do you know what annoys me when you see this stuff is, they're allowed to do that, and the cameras take pictures, and nobody does anything. They're desecrating. They're doing what they're doing, and they get away with it. I'm still chilled to the bone that I once went to see our Victoria in the hospital in Earl's Court. Well, actually in Fulham, and I had to get the tube, and I was in Earl's Court, and I walked down the road. I told you, and there they were, this unwashed bunch of middle-class idiots lying in the road. And one of them went, are you going to join us, Jezza? And I literally ran for my life. What I don't get about Just Stop Oil, apart from the fact is I don't understand why they don't drag them off the street, seriously, I don't know what they're protesting about. I'm none the wiser.
Yeah.
It never happens during the holidays when they're all in their houses in Mallorca because they're all middle class. What are they trying to tell me? Look at that.
Right, and also these two old women, because that's what they are. One of them is retired and used to run Reading Council, would you believe?
I was born in Reading.
Yeah, well, there you are. Maybe you were there when she was in charge of the council.
I mean, look,
they're
she's
two
a lesbian on the
older
left
women
again.
who should know better, right? One's in their 70s, one's in their late 60s. The other one, I think, is a retired teacher, as you wouldn't be surprised to know. And they're complaining that that 1.5 that you see there is them saying that the world's temperature, the Earth's temperature, has risen above 1.5
Why are they allowed,
degrees.
though, on a serious note, to do that in public while people just stand and watch them destroy something that's quite important?
It's desecration of a grave as well, which I would have thought, is that not a crime?
But I don't understand why we allow them to get it. I don't understand
because
their
they're
message.
not allowed to. I came across them quite a few times. They were on my high street about about a year ago. And I said to the police officers, why are you not removing these people? They were blocking buses full of people trying to get to their minimum wage jobs.
Right.
Like they were literally, they're completely antithetical to who they think they're helping. And they said, no, we can't touch them at all. And they were using oil-based glue to glue themselves onto the pavement.
Oil-based?
And oil-based.
Funny that.
Very interesting stuff. And they're like, no, we can't touch them.
Oil-based.
They're not allowed to touch them.
But you see that just sums up what's wrong with this country. We've got the police who won't touch grooming gangs north of Watford Gap because they're concerned about cultural tension. We won't touch. These people are a disgrace. They should be ripped off the street. And if they've stuck their hands, I'd take their arms with me.
Do you remember there used to be like another organisation called Just Stop Oil?
Yes.
And they'd turn up where Just Stop Oil were with their Just Stop Oil T-shirts and like surround them and make a mockery of them.
Right.
Bring them back.
Do you remember the footage?
Let's join.
Do you remember the footage of a police force? Maybe it was Germany.
I think
we
it
played
was,
last year, where they literally dragged them off the road.
Oh, in France, they're like...
And in France, they pull their hands off. They don't care if it's attached to a bit of tarmac.
Well, that's
they don't
fantastic.
care. They just put that in a
is.
stew
That's
later.
soft touch police.
But this is, we go back to the Starmer and people's rights. Again, no rights for Charles Darwin or his family. Desecrating that grave, two old birds moaning about whatever, something that doesn't really add up. Nothing will be done because we always make excuses now in this country for people like that to get away with their behaviour. It's disgusting.
It is disgraceful. Here's one of them speaking out.
Today, myself and my fellow comrades, Gerald, Judith and Diana Pilkington-Smythe, took an extremely risky trip up the M1, where we proceeded to glue ourselves to the Central Reservation. You mark my words, 2025 is going to be the year that Just Stop Oil finally makes its mark on the world. Just Stop Oil!
And then pops into Waitrose.
That's the woman.
What's so clever about
that's the woman who does the Angela Rayner impression.
That's brilliant.
Very good. It is true though, because they're all middle class, as you say. They're all called Tarquin. They've all got ridiculous.
It's like
names.
the students.
One of them's called.
One of them's called university. None of them gave a toss about Gaza when they went home for
There's
Christmas.
a really good game of what your Just Stop Oil name would be.
Yeah.
No, it's a really good game.
Is it indigo?
First of all,
We
your
haven't got a lot of
first
time
name
for this,
is
by the way.
your favourite herbal spice, and your second name is the last place you visited for leisure purposes.
I see. All right. Well, we'll come back to that because we've got to move on.
Barbados.
Sage
Chinese
Barbados.
Five Spice Wetherspoons.
Yeah, there you go.
That's how that works.
Well, the reason we have to move on is because Alex has got the OnlyFans star who's had sex with 1,000 men. Apparently
which
in one
now?
day.
It's just so many
There's
of them.
loads more of these people, aren't there?
Bonnie Blue. There's another one called Lily Phillips.
I think Bonnie's more than
Lily Phillips is
I
what
think
I know.
Bonnie's black and blue.
It's probably, yeah.
Oh,
Is
God.
Bonnie Blue also British? Because the Lily one was British, wasn't
Yeah,
she?
we seem to be sort of, topping the charts for slags at the moment.
I mean, it's not great, is it? There she is.
She is advancing a reputation of British women, right? When you look at online pornography, it's dominated by Western women who look a certain way. And so other countries look at us and think, oh, well, they must all be like that.
Well, you caused quite a storm on social media, I think, Alex, over this.
Oh, well, because I said the problem with Bonnie Blue is there'll be other communities thinking white women are promiscuous.
And now, normally, I wouldn't play anything to do with this bozo that we're about to see, but I've been asked to do it under duress, so I'm going to do it. This is Femi. Who I would never normally give a platform to.
Sorry, who's Femi?
But here he is responding to Alex Phillips.
Have you heard of the term race baiter? It's this thing that certain types of politicians and journalists love to accuse anybody who stands up against racism of being, that we're just always bringing race into everything, that we're just looking for stuff to call racist. Well, Alex Phillips is one such politician. She's a former MEP of the Brexit Party, now called the Reform Party. This is a story that had absolutely nothing to do with race, but they're so obsessed with attacking black and brown people that they had to bring it in. But they still call us the race baiters.
When he says us, I don't know what he means. What idiots?
But isn't he being a race baiter?
Well, he is.
literally saying the
that's
problem with
literally what he
Bonnie Blue
does.
is people think white women are promiscuous.
Yeah.
If anything, that's racist towards white women, of which I am one.
Exactly right. He's an idiot.
He's
I regret playing that, and I'm never going to do it again. Anyway, that's enough for the moment. Coming up, we're going to be talking about yet another resignation from the government, yet another cabinet member, and of course, those lovely people, Harry and Meghan, who were out and about again this week. This is Plank of the Week. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We're moving right along. We've only got 3 more to go, and then we're into the final furlong, and I'll have to choose exactly who's going to win Plank of the Week this week. Steve N. Allen, over to you.
Well, already flagged up nicely by Jezza, Tulip Siddiq, the anti-corruption minister, caught up in a corruption. This is brilliant. But she has now stepped down, which means she's removed some corruption from the government, an example of someone doing their job. You try and find someone else in the Labour Party doing their job.
It's the first success they can claim.
Exactly. It's really good. The corruption comes about for... It's not to do with just her. It's her aunt, isn't it, who was in charge of Bangladesh for over 20 years.
Sounds like a nice woman, the auntie, doesn't she?
Oh, yeah. She made some of her political opponents disappear. So I have nothing bad to say about it. If anything, I'm team her, because I don't want to find out...
But don't worry, because she's got plenty of homes in London that she can seek refuge in, if necessary.
Level 1 scandal is apparently Tulip was involved in this nuclear power plant deal, and this is what the Bangladesh case is about, that there's like $5 billion that went missing in the back of her pocket somewhere. Nice. But then she said, well, I barely even speak to my aunt about politics. Really? Your aunt, who's the longest-serving female leader of a government?
Weren't your campaign leaflets found in your own town?
In the presidential palace.
The idea that you wouldn't even ask her how her day was. Oh, you just rude? Of course you talk about politics.
Yeah, because normally what you do when you're campaigning in North and West London is you put some leaflets in through the doors of Swiss Cottage, a bit of Primrose Hill, a bit of Hampstead and Highgate, and then a couple end up in Dhaka. Because, it's just the way it goes,
These flyers get everywhere. It's like when I do the Edinburgh Festival. My flyers end up everywhere. You use them as packaging. Next year's show is going to be called Happy Birthday, so we're going to use the posters as wrapping paper.
There you go.
So she's not talking politics, and yet somehow there are some links that she can't seem to fully get rid of. Like there's a flat that she was given by someone linked to her aunt. Now, look, I don't know what your family's like.
She's not sure if she was given it, though, is she?
She doesn't fully know where this flat came from.
No.
I've done come on, we've all done the same thing. You're given an expensive flat in London.
I don't know who gave it to you.
I mean, my family wouldn't even give me Old Kent Road playing Monopoly, so I'm not sure how somehow this happens. But she's resigned because she doesn't want to be a distraction, and that's the thing I don't believe. I think the Labour Party, if anything, right now, would love a distraction. Rachel Reeves must be saying, please work out,
Well, there was the one good day for Rachel Reeves was the day that Tulip Siddiq actually had to resign, because nobody talks about Rachel Reeves for 24 hours.
Here's a question for you all, serious for me, right? If you have to resign as a minister, irrespective of what that job is, because you've shown yourself to have been a liar, or in this case, fraud allegedly, or corruption, do you think it's right you stay on as an MP?
I don't.
Because I've never understood if some sex case or some financial case or like this. So the people that she represents might be going, hold on a minute, you're a liar, you've done that. Should you not, in that instance, be forced to either stand down or face a
at least have a re-election?
Mean that.
Well, absolutely. I mean, of course, she claims that she hasn't done anything wrong. As Steve said, she's claiming she's just a distraction. And she claims that she's been cleared by the Ethics Commissioner.
And what did that idiot, and what's the idiot that I want to win go? The door will always be open.
Yes.
And so does her bestie Starmer. They were very good friends. They've been friends for a long time. They've got back-to-back kind of constituencies. And, yes.
And I was going to say, that's the thing. I can kind of understand why Starmer can't tell her off for this. What's he going to do? Say, oh, we shouldn't be having freebies while he's getting measured up for his next...
Well,
nothing of the sort.
Only last month he was getting more freebies.
Different between a suit and 3.9 billion quid and an arms deal from Vladimir Putin, though, isn't it? To be fair.
She's being investigated for criminal activity in Bangladesh by the new government. So good luck.
There's also a picture of her.
Will finally be able to deport a criminal.
There's also a picture of her in Bangladesh with her auntie. And guess who?
Vladimir Putin,
There's also,
have you got the picture?
There's also a visit that was made by Keir Starmer to Bangladesh with her when he went to see her auntie. He also had her auntie in at the House of... Well, when I say he had her as a visitor in the House of Commons, as far as I know, while he was leader of the opposition. And as recently as last month, Keir Starmer met up with a representative of her party in the House of Commons. I mean, give me a break. Let's have a look at her refusing to answer any questions.
Wondering what your reasoning is for stepping down today. Would you have any thoughts that you'd like to share with us? Anything you'd like to say? Do you still insist that you haven't done anything wrong?
Sorry, why has she still got a ministerial car? If she's resigned,
well,
she should not be getting...
You're missing the point. She was told that she had to go home in that car because there were leaflets in the back.
Yeah, of course.
To make sure they were all right.
She's auditioning...
She's a smug one, though. She looks smug to me.
Or she's auditioning for the next mayor of Los Angeles, perhaps. Just don't answer any questions.
Do they have to do training to not answer questions when people are being asked? Or do they have like a little Bluetooth thing
just
playing
smile.
Music?
Like that.
She knows she's covered by Starmer. He defended her in PMQs today.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, there's literally no end to this.
Imagine that you're being investigated, as you said, for criminal fraud in Bangladesh, and he is so out of touch with the world that he puts the door is always open. That
Yeah.
tells you everything you need to know about the man.
I know. Samara, the return of Harry and Meghan.
Oh, yes.
I think this
Goodness
could
me.
be a winner, you know. They haven't won this for a long time.
Yeah, they have resurfaced in the most horrible way, in my
Idiots.
opinion, for
Yeah.
basically a paid, kind of staged pap walk, because they did drive 200 miles from where they were living to go and
Look
see
at that
these
hug, though. Come on.
victims of the LA fires. I mean, really. I mean, there's another video where she just walks past a disabled veteran because she sees that the cameras are not on. It was kind of taken by a citizen
They took their
journalist.
Netflix camera crew with them. Let's make that point here and now.
No, it was just an unfortunate happenstance that there was a camera there.
And she's saved the world as well by postponing her cooking special on Netflix by a week because she just feels so badly about all the victims. I mean, yeah, they really taken the cake this week. No one wanted to see them. No one wanted their weird intervention. They've said, oh, we open our home to everyone. You don't open your home to your own family who you haven't spoken to in years. You don't open your home to, you trashed the Queen in her last couple of years.
Her father still hasn't met his grandchildren.
No, I was actually talking to Tom Markle Jr. this week, and he was absolutely livid about the fact that Meghan hasn't contacted them. Her own family lives in LA. She hasn't asked if they're okay. So, yeah, there's a bunch of horrible things that have happened there. But they've also, these people just want to stick their noses into everything because they've spoken about Zuckerberg, who's come back up in the news. He went on Joe Rogan's podcast, and they've said that he's a threat to democracy and he wants to demolish democracy. It's like, we didn't ask for your D-list actor's view and the heir to the spare on this whole situation. We don't actually care. You have no authority to talk about this.
Did you not love that the American actress Justine Bateman said that they were disaster tourists?
Yes, tragedy vultures.
But I also thought the irony of this week and how out of touch they are as well is a woman who I think's amazing, Iron Kate, right? Goes to the hospital where she's been treated for cancer, for chemo, very privately, very quietly, just to say thank you. Does it in the most humane, decent, moral, down-to-earth way. Calls it right every time. These two couldn't call. They are so stupid, man. That they just get it. They get it wrong the whole time. Well, nobody gives a toss about a cookery program. Nobody gives. That was a pure photo opportunity on the back of people's misery, wasn't it?
I imagine they've got like some LED chart behind them, and it starts flashing when there's a victim. Beep 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 beep, and they can just fly off.
Completely agree.
I also think, for them to go and lecture Mark Zuckerberg about misinformation, they're literally the Duke and Duchess of misinformation. All they do is lie. Can we forget the Oprah interview where there were 30 recorded lies in a 40-minute interview?
I mean,
everything they say is an absolute joke. So no, I'm not going to take advice from them. I wish they would just get out of my For You page and out of my stream, because every time I see them, I just want to sort of throw up and leave. It's just.
And do you not think also that she may have cancelled the Love Meghan series from Netflix because actually not because it clashed with the fact that there was a fire and people were suffering in a tragic manner, but that it might actually not get much publicity because there's quite a lot of news around.
Totally.
What is it about?
It's about Meghan cooking things for people.
It's probably crap.
Anyway, coming up, we're going to talk about the Scottish.
Maybe she joined OnlyFans.
Maybe she should. That'll be where she ends up.
Can I just say, we went to America last year on the annual golf boys trip, and you play golf in the morning, then you go for dinner, and every night we were transfixed with what's the game with the boxes?
Eh?
The game that Howie Mandel
Deal or
does.
No Deal?
Yes, and in America it plays honest repeats, and she's boxed 23 like that.
Oh yeah.
And it's just
ridiculous.
The height of her career.
Yeah, opening up the
with everything
case.
sticking out, just thinking,
I know.
really
I know.
That was one of the most laborious jobs of her life, and she actually said it was,
Steve's right, that could be her OnlyFans name, Box 23.
23, very good. I like it. Right, anyway, listen, we're running late again, so we're going to be very, very disciplined, as we always are on the show. Coming up, we're going to talk about wee Jimmy Cranky, who got divorced, always announced his split, her split, I should say, from her husband. Yeah, that's right. You've got to get these things right. The gender's difficult up there. Yeah. This is, of course, Plank of the Week. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. I'm Mike Graham. We've got to the final nomination. You two are getting far too cosy over here. I don't know what to say. Listen, I'm going to have to start again, sorry. They've completely put me off. No, they've completely put me off. Another announcement of the splits in a long-running marriage, right? And it was, of course, former First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, sometimes known as Wee Jimmy Cranky. She was married, of course, to the ex-SNP Chief Executive, Peter Murrell. Now, Peter Murrell hasn't been the SNP Chief Executive for a while on account of being charged with some kind of embezzlement scenario, which we can't really talk about because it hasn't yet come to court.
Being charged, though.
But he has been charged. She is also still under suspicion and under investigation by the police in Scotland because of some missing money and a camper van. A motorhome, which nobody can...
turned up at his mother's and it cost 100 grand.
Now, there's been a lot of rumours about their marriage not being really a proper marriage, and being a bit of a sham. Yeah, absolutely right.
I've never heard those.
And here's what the statement was that she put out. She said the decision to end the marriage had been made with a heavy heart. It's not the only heavy thing about her. To all intents and purposes, we have been separated for some time now and feel it is time to bring others up to speed with where we are. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a weird thing to say, isn't it? Some people think it means that she's not as other women. I don't know if that's true.
What does that mean?
Well, it goes without saying, she says, that we still care deeply for each other and always will.
Do you think she'll visit him if he goes to prison?
No, I don't think she will.
What are you talking about, the rumours about their marriage? Because I, as you know, at 60, I'm behind everybody.
One of the first things she did when she left the role of First Minister and sort of set
learned to drive.
She learned to drive and also set out on her own to sort of prove that she was a character without politics. She went to a sort of what can only be described as a gay disco. And appeared dressed in a very flamboyant outfit and appeared on her own, did a bit of dancing, which was strange. And
is she now in charge of the fire department in California?
Not yet. Not yet, but I think she's applied for the job.
Right.
You know,
qualified.
Because she is qualified.
Only halfway there.
I think that's going to be the new code, isn't it? Are you with the fire department in Los Angeles?
My marriage is over. I've decided to go to LA and join the fire department.
But she's become very close to Val McDermott, who is a famous writer in Scotland.
Used to be in the LA fire.
Yeah, also has certainly put out a few fires in that neck of the woods.
This is like Carry On today. This is brilliant.
Shortly before she announced that, she'd gone and given an interview to the Financial Times at the weekend and slagged off Alex Salmond. Now, Alex Salmond was a friend of this show, a friend of mine personally. He's also happens to be dead.
Yeah.
Now, have a bit of class, please, Nicola. And I used to know Nicola Sturgeon quite well, and she was always quite a decent person when I knew her. But she seems to have turned into this very bitter and twisted person.
And can we be really straight about our friend Alex Salmond?
Yes,
he went through hell, and his name was cleared. So, you know, for his memory and his family and his wife, who's never said anything, came out and said, and when people like Sturgeon use that for political gain, that is disgusting.
I know.
He was good to us. He was
and here's
good to
what
me,
and
he was
here's
good
what
to
she
Sturgeon.
said about him, right? She said, I think it's pretty well documented that Alex could be quite brisk with people, and sometimes we all witnessed that, and sometimes we all had to say, look, that's not on. And then when she talks about some of the women who had accused him of things, she basically said that, you know, I know that some of those allegations were questioned, but I know that those women went through hell. You know, and even Alex Salmond's wife, who never speaks, came out and just said, you know, we're still grieving as a family, please leave us alone. And I just think it's very bad form and a terrible, terrible way to behave. But there we are. So that is the final nomination, and we now have to decide who should be the winner. So Keir Starmer won it last week, so I don't think it can be him.
Is it for Plank, or is it the funniest and best story I've ever heard on this show? Because the Highland thing was hysterical.
The Highland thing is hysterical.
I know you.
The Highland thing is hysterical.
The Highland thing was brilliant.
I just don't know if it cuts through. I mean, I'm struggling to see past Harry and Meghan this week, because I think Harry and Meghan, given that the entire world's focus was on this terrible situation in Los Angeles, and it was dominating the news, and the pictures were horrific, and famous stars were talking about their houses burning down, and they turn up because they think that's the most important thing that people can see.
I think you're right.
I think it's got
Bonnie
to be Harry
Blue
and
or
Meghan.
the Highland thing was hysterical.
The Highland Council, I think, would come in for an honourable mention.
Yes,
by all means. And I wonder what they're going to do with the building. But I think, this week it's got to be Harry and Meghan. Plank of the week goes to you. Thank you very much indeed. We will return next week with more plankery. Meantime, don't forget you can watch all of the great shows that we do here on YouTube and in many other places. This is talkTV, the home of common sense, the only place to be. See you next week.